Hey, we got a little bit of a problem here, and it says that new construction, those sales have plunged more than they have in the last 3 years. What does that mean for us? Does that mean that new construction is starting to fail and our economy is starting to crash? Or is that more just a national news type of thing and we're going to see something a little bit different? Well, let's find out. Okay, so it's always fun to start off with things just a little bit different. And so if you find yourself liking the information, there's no marketing, and you like the metrics, and you like everything that you hear as far as being able to make a good real estate buying or selling decision, make sure you subscribe or like the video. Again, it just helps our channel grow so that other people can get the really solid information each and every week. So with that, let's dive in really fast. And what does this mean? So we have new home sales, say they plunged to the lowest in 3 years. And, as we take a look at it, hey, we've got this chart. We got 2020 on the left where you see that we spiked. And then, of course, over on the right-hand side, you see where things have come back down again. But, we spiked earlier, and you're thinking, yeah, what the heck? And then, of course, we have new home sales took a notable step back in January, reversing much of the prior month's strength and highlighting the volatility that often defines this data series. So basically they're saying, hey, we're down about 11.3% lower than we were at a year ago, January. Now, does that mean that everything is heading downward? Okay, well, first of all, those are national headlines, and make sure that you're differentiating yourself between national and our local market, because our local market actually is doing quite well. Sure, it bobbles up and down each and every week, each and every month. The however is, as you're going to see in the metrics here shortly, and in fact, because we break it out by chapters, make sure you jump to that chapter if you are only interested in new construction. If you're only interested in, single family home marketing, trends, or even bank-owned or REO trends, just jump to those chapters and you'll be able to see each one of them so that you can get the information you want. All right, so as we kind of roll into this, does it mean that our market, our local market, is taking a hammering? And the answer is no. And I'll just be straight, give you guys the short answer up front. Why? Well, because we are still seeing a lot of momentum. Yes, rates have gone from the 6.25 down to 6, down to 5.99, back to 6, back to 6.25, back to 6.5, and we've been kind of moving this target. Again, what's going on nationally, but mostly internationally, is having the biggest impact on rates right now. And there's a lot of folks that aren't seeing a lot of security. And that's why we started to see an increase in mortgage activity. When we talk about security, it's more financial. So they're moving in and out of bonds and treasuries, and positioning themselves depending on where they feel things are going to settle out at. Now, if we pop in and we take a look at our headlines, again, the upper left, new home sales plunge. When we talk about new home, again, new construction. Down below that, kind of a mixed message, right? We have builder confidence inches higher amid affordability concerns. And I totally agree with that. We are seeing a lot of increased activity with builders showing, and starting and releasing a few more homes, as you're going to see shortly, which means that we're seeing that confidence roll along. Now, again, most of the headlines, most of what you're seeing, as you hear, they're talking about January. Well, heck, we're past the middle of March. So make sure, again, that you are tuning in and getting real-time metrics, not 2 months ago information. I'm just saying it. If you want to save money, you should probably be relevant. Anyway, moving on. Okay, upper right, you can see we capped out on Thursday, Friday at about 6.5%. And you can see that that's been a gentle increase ever since the Iran invasion and whatnot, or invasion, whatever they're calling that this week. Mortgage rate spike, for 2026. That's consistent with what we're seeing up above. Now, when we take a look at Freddie's running 7-day average, you can see that we, we did a little U-turn and from our downward trend, and we've headed back up. That will again start to mellow out. Now, some of you are saying, George, why the heck is this happening? Well, remember the Feds, who did not reduce rates, did not do anything with the Fed rate, because they have nothing to do with mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are publicly traded. Watch your, watch your bonds, your mortgage-backed securities. That is where you will see the value or the pricing that people use for mortgage interest rates. The Feds control your car type loans, your credit card interest rate, HELOCs or home equity line of credits, what banks lend to each other on a day-to-day basis, and including commercial lending. So that is what the Fed controls. Now, even though they stayed the course and said, hey, we're concerned a little bit about inflation, things are starting to plateau a little bit based on what's going on locally and internationally, then things will, when it starts to settle back down, we'll actually start to see mortgage rates come down with it. So as we come back to here, we will see a turnabout, and well, that's my expectation. But when we come in, we take a look at what's going on, like days on market. So if you look at that center green chart, you can see that we're actually 3 days less on market than where we were just last week. We're 2 days less on market year to date. And then month over month in the where you see the 9D, that's 9 days less than what we were in February at this point. So our market is spending less time on market. And in fact, we had 1,067 homes that came on market. But look, we had 1,201 homes that went off market. So when we take a look at the information, we are seeing that, okay, we're still seeing a good number of spring market homes coming on. Yay. We're seeing a good velocity of homes going up. And in fact, we're seeing on average of about 1.2 homes going pended versus what is coming on market for well-priced homes. Now, if we come back and we say, okay, let's take a look at our price reductions. Those are at 578 homes. That's a little higher than what we like to see. And the reason that that is a little higher than we like to see, that means that we're seeing either an overpricing still by some of the sellers who wish to have something that the market demand is not there for, or are we, because we're seeing interest rate increases, that buyers are starting to pull back to the sidelines again, and then the sellers are having to reduce their price to basically re-engage with them. And I think it's a combination of both. We are still seeing well-priced homes going off market in 1 to 7 days. With that, we're also seeing some homes sticking on the market longer. They tend to be a little bit more rural, but they are doing a price reduction, which then is re-engaging with many of those buyers that kind of stepped off to the side, because then with the interest rate increase, that allowed them to see that as a good value. And then, of course, we go into contract. Being very clear, when we see the fact that we're still taking off nearly 150 homes more than what's coming on, we're seeing a drawdown of that inventory. So again, remember to like and subscribe. It is free. We do not have any marketing. It's just a very straightforward, good, solid metrics, so you guys can make a good decision. So look at this. This is single family home. Let's blow this chart up. Here we go. All right. So upper chart. We're down 457 homes less that closed year over year. But look at this. We have 801 homes that actually went pended. So we have almost twice as many homes that went pended than we are short on what has closed. So again, we're seeing some of the closings that happened in or contracts that happened in February, which are now translating into March. Just like what we're seeing in March, we'll see those numbers in April, right? So the bottom chart, just for the month, looking at the same month of March, year over year, we're down 175 sales, but we're up 424 pended. And again, that is super important because it allows us to see that dynamic, that real number of what we're seeing for trend. Solds, that's rearview mirror stuff, right? Again, that's what happened in February. Okay, those are February contracts. 30 days later, they're closing in March. What we're seeing is a real dynamic number, whether it's coming on market, whether it's going pended. That's a dynamic number that lets us know what are we doing. And our market is still doing quite well. And even in fact, when we pop over and we take a look at the average sales price, our average sales price is up basically 0.4%, just shy of 0.5%. It's up 17,000 than what it was last week. Now that number bobbles around all the time. So a couple of weeks ago, we were down like 40,000, and then we're back up 30,000, then 17,000. So it goes up and down. It doesn't mean that's what your home value is worth. That's just the average of what is being purchased. And that is, again, just a metric that we monitor because it allows us to see some of that trend. All right, coming back. Even year to date, we're up 4,000 year over year, even though it shows us down just a little bit. As far as year over year, it shows us down, but week over week, we're actually up 4,000. I know I get that, right? So the narrative, sales down slightly by 4.4%, basically 457 homes. Pendeds are up 801 homes, and that's showing a really nice 2-to-1 ratio there. As we see, the average time is up 12 days year over year, but it's 9 days less than where we were at last month. And so we're starting to see that list to sales timeline come down. It's down by 9 days. And so we're starting to see, again, more velocity. Average sales prices are higher just by slight, only 0.5%. And mortgage rates, of course, are up, which is not very exciting because that keeps everybody back. Now, we talked about new construction. New construction, again, is doing really well, even though, let's blow this up, even though the top chart, we're down 268 homes to the year, we're still over 81 homes, from where we were at last week. It's a difference, and so we're doing really well. They're starting to close that gap. When we take a look at the green chart, they're up 3.6%, or basically 18 more homes that went pended than what happened this time last year. And we are seeing some really great velocity. And in fact, the builder numbers are starting to improve each and every week, not by monumental amounts, but just incrementally, they're getting better and better and better. Just 0.5%, 0.25%, they just keep getting better, which is a positive direction. And that's where we're saying that we're seeing greater builder sentiment, and we're seeing more contracts happening, as you can see there. Now, as we delve back into this, we come over and we take a look at what is our pricing. Look, average days on market is actually down 6 days for the same month of March. It's down 2 days year to date. In actual pricing, look, we're still at 98%. And that is a really good number still, because that tells us that they're holding steady. They're not down, they're not going from like 99 to 98 to 96 to 95. No. They're staying 97, 98, 97, 98, right in that ballpark, depending on incentives. And so we're seeing really good activity with new construction. It's still a good month-end option, like now, between now and the end of the month. For standing product, you're going to get your best pricing. So if you're interested in new construction, something to keep in mind, make sure that the agent that you're working with, don't work with the site agent. They work for the seller. They work for the builder. They get bonuses on giving you less or offering you less. Make sure you're working with an agent that understands new construction and knows how to get you those extra goodies that the seller, the builder, is willing to provide. All right, just saying. All right, let's get back to this. When we talk about time of year, again, month end, they're always trying to close out product. Absolutely jump on that one. When we talk about REOs and bank-owned homes, again, we've seen a little bit of a bump in activity. In fact, we had 24 homes come on market as far as REOs. And actually, that's not accurate. It was actually only 18. Some of them are just mismarked. They inadvertently, when they put their listing in, put it in as a bank-owned home, and they're not a bank-owned home at all. It's just a mistake. Anyway, we reached out to them and say, hey, could you correct that, because it makes these numbers look accurate. Anyway, look, banks are putting homes on the market. This is seasonally normal as they get into the spring, and they know that it's easier for people to make a move, not during the winter. Plus, their home is protected. Normally, we will see this when we know that our temperatures are not getting below freezing anymore, and then allows a person like yourself to come in. You're not going to get a discount, okay? You're just going to get another nice house because they'll do paint, carpet, and vinyl. They get it back on the market, and they will get anywhere between 96 and 98% of market value, which is a good business decision. Anyway, if you have any questions, put it down below. We'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know where you're listening from and ask any questions that you want. In the meantime, have an absolutely beautiful day. It's going to be stunning out there. In the meantime, I'll see you on the next video. Take care.